I think this is an opportunity that we can take to get people's attention and know that people want to be heard.
Right now, Marlon Anderson, the West High School employee who was fired last week, is officially offered his job back.
And how much money should go to policing? City leaders tonight discussing Madison's operating budget.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 10.
Thanks for joining us tonight. The Madison West security guard fired last week for repeating the N-word, asking a student not to use it, will soon have his job back.
The Madison Metropolitan School District rescinded Marlon Anderson's termination this afternoon. Madeline O'Neill tells us how Anderson is feeling tonight and what comes next.
Charlotte and Eric, Anderson tells us he's thankful and blessed and so happy to be getting back to his job at West High School, but says the fight isn't over yet. He'll be back on payroll immediately with full benefits and will stay on paid leave while a transition plan is put together. Now, this comes after an outpouring of support from students, community members, and people across the world on social media.
I'm blessed enough to know the impact that I've made in the lives of a bunch of young people, hundreds, probably thousands of young people throughout the years. And I just want to continue doing that. I want to continue to bless them as they bless me.
Anderson would like the school district to re-examine its zero-tolerance practice for staff members using racial slurs and instead develop a new policy. Madison School Board President Gloria Reyes says they're looking at developing such policy while reviewing practices through a lens of, quote, deep racial equity. Earlier today, Reyes announced her recommendation that the district rescind Anderson's termination.
Oftentimes when we implement universal practices across the board and we take action on that, we ultimately impact the people that we're trying to protect.
Anderson will likely stay with the Boys and Girls Club where he was temporarily hired and may still have a presence there afterwards. He and Boys and Girls Club CEO Michael Johnson are in touch with Cher. She responded to one of our tweets earlier this week, sharing her support for Anderson. They're talking to her and her publicist about ways she could still support Anderson and his fight after this.
All right, Madeline O'Neill reporting that. Maddie, thank you.
You're welcome.
An impressive show of force by Mother Nature today along the Lake Michigan coast. The National Weather Service in Green Bay shared this video from Cave Point Park in Door County. Waves were upwards of 12 feet high there this afternoon. Let's get a look at our forecast now. Here's Chief Meteorologist Gary Knalty.
Those winds are also sweeping our area, and they're going to stay strong for tonight and tomorrow. The National Weather Service has issued a wind advisory as a result. Let's start out by taking a look at weather track. You can see the swirl in the clouds centered over the Twin Cities, but the clouds from this morning showers head off to the east. We had a little bit of clearing this afternoon. Now some showers are coming in from the west, although they're going to be pretty spotty. We'll see them off and on through tomorrow. But wind advisory is in effect until 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon for much of southern Wisconsin, areas west of a Platteville to Lone Rock to Wisconsin Dell line. That runs until 7 p.m. tomorrow. Winds right now are about 15 to 25 miles per hour, but we're seeing some stronger wind gusts up to 30 to 35 miles per hour at times. High temperatures today will reach the middle 60s before the cold front came through. We've dropped to 51 in Madison and temperatures in the 40s out to the west. By tomorrow morning, look for some scattered showers. Temperatures will drop to the lower 40s, and tomorrow will be a windy and cooler day with a chance of showers and a high temperature of 48. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. It's a fight to save homes in the hills near Los Angeles. The fast-moving fire erupted in a canyon this morning about 18 miles east of downtown L.A. The fire came dangerously close to homes, but crews quickly attacked from the air and on the ground. Officials evacuated about 200 homes over an 8-block area. Hot temperatures, dry conditions, and excessive brush fueled the fire. So far, wind has not been a factor. A bag being loaded onto an airplane at Chicago Midway exploded today, prompting a response from a bomb unit. There was a large police and fire department response on the tarmac. That bag was being loaded into a plane from Mexican airline Volaris. Chicago police said a cell phone battery or a charger may have been the culprit here. No injuries or damage to the plane have been reported. The airport was not evacuated.
Appleton police say they've arrested a man involved in a hit and run last night. That was all captured on video. The suspected vehicle hit a woman riding a motorcycle on Wisconsin Avenue and Oneida Street. The suspect allegedly drove off right after the crash, as you can see there. Police say the woman who was hit was treated for minor injuries and released. Tonight, the future budget for the city of Madison turned into a discussion on policing. In the last half hour, the Finance Committee approved funding for a new position, an independent police monitor. Amy Reed shows us how this topic brought a lot of people out to voice their opinion tonight.
Just hit them all at once, right?
Yep. Our police officers should and do feel insulted. They've told me so.
So the kid that the police were beating up is not conscious?
With more than 40 speakers from the public.
This is about transparency. This is about accountability.
Upper State Street is fast becoming a no-go zone.
One issue was clear.
But nothing says bash the cops more than creating that $200,000 full-time professional police critic.
While the City Finance Committee decides what the budget for next year will be, people are watching next steps on policing. There were two possible amendments on this. One would give funding for more officers. Another would cut funding for a new independent police monitor, the primary recommendation of the Police Ad Hoc Committee that's met for the past 4 years.
I think that our responsibility is to really then do what they tell us is most needed, which is an independent monitor for the Madison Police Department.
The monitor would act as oversight for police policy and procedure. Many at the meeting said they wanted it, naturally, including those who worked on the committee.
It's explicitly about making sure that these recommendations that we are putting forward are not just implemented correctly, but are seen through, and that MPD can constantly improve its policies and procedures, can constantly improve how to interact with community, and can create an easier entry for community members when it comes to engaging with MPD and any issues that it's facing.
But others called it a professional police critic, hoping instead the $200,000 it would cost could go toward more officers instead.
Mayor, you know as well as I do, you have a police and fire commission that you should go to if you have a problem with the chief of police.
With 25 amendments to get through at its meeting, both issues are just more difficult decisions for an increasingly tight budget.
So we need to be very cognizant that we have very, very little room to get to the levy limit, and we can't have everything we want.
The Finance Committee is still at its meeting now, and members haven't made a decision on funding more police officers yet. Also still to come is an almost final decision on the wheel tax. It's expected to pass. A slight change there, though. Alders have approved a $40 reimbursement program for people on food stamps to help offset the cost of the fee.
Governor Tony Evers calling a special legislative session hoping to tackle the issue of gun violence. He signed an executive order this morning proposing two new bills. One would require universal background checks on gun purchases. The other would create a red flag process that would give law enforcement the ability to take away someone's gun if they are a threat to themselves or others. However, the bills face an uphill battle as both the Assembly and Senate are controlled by Republicans. The special session will begin November 7th. State Supreme Court hearing arguments today regarding the lame duck laws passed last year by the Republican-controlled legislature. The laws prohibit Governor Evers from pulling the state out of lawsuits and force Attorney General Josh Kaul to get legislative approval before settling actions. A coalition of unions has filed a lawsuit arguing those laws violate the separation of powers between the executive and legislative branches.
Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett is campaigning for his city to be selected for the G7 summit. After facing bipartisan backlash, President Trump reversed course and decided not to host the event at his Doral, Florida resort. Barrett submitted a letter to the president last night. The G7 summit will happen on June 12th, a month before the Democratic National Convention in Milwaukee. We will be hearing from Madison police and event organizers tomorrow regarding plans for this weekend's Freak Fest. Tonight, we're getting a look at the street closures. Those are all shown here in black, and they include State, Lake, Francis, Johnson, Dayton, Gorham, Mifflin, and West Gilman. Those closures will begin at 5 o'clock this Saturday, 2 hours before the event begins. Most are expected to reopen right around 3 a.m. Sunday. To get into Freak Fest, you will need a ticket.
Construction is officially underway on a 65,000 square foot new youth art center in Madison. It'll be located at East Mifflin and Ingersoll across from Lapham Elementary School. There will be 12 rehearsal studios, 2 fully equipped dance studios, 2 theaters, and a community room. It's expected to open in the spring of 2021. More to come tonight. When we come back, a one-on-one interview with the new UW band director.
Our Susan Simon sits down with Corey Pompey to discuss his future plans for the band and what he says was the deciding factor to take the job. Stay with us. Welcome back. A new era is underway for the University of Wisconsin Marching Band.
Now, if you've been to Camp Randall for a Badger game this season, you've seen Dr. Corey Pompey at work. How he got to Madison, though, is quite the story, and he shared it with our Susan Simon.
Every band has a leader. For the first time in 50 years, there is a new director at the helm of the Wisconsin Marching Band. Dr. Corey Pompey takes the podium from the legendary Mike Leckrone.
We have spent decades debating your predecessor's name, if it was Leckrone or Leckrone. So is it Pompey or Pompey? How do you say your last name?
I say Pompey, but I'm so accustomed to hearing it both ways that I don't even say anything when I hear it.
Well, you have to be the definitive source.
Well, that's how I see it.
Pompey.
That's how I see it.
Okay,
yes.
we've got it on tape. So we're off to a good start.
Pompey's office in the Humanities Building is barely unpacked, but he's starting to feel more at home.
I know how to get from here to the Hamill Center, here to the stadium, here to the field, here to the hill, and that's about it.
Pompey has a widespread background in music education.
I did go to the University of Alabama as a music education major. I did not intend to pursue music education. I majored in music education because I liked music and I needed a degree to go to law school. I like music, give me my music degree, I'm going to law school. Well, at some point, law school went out the window and I stuck with music education.
Corey earned a Doctor of Music Arts degree from the University of Texas, Austin, and has Big Ten experience as the Assistant Director of Bands at Penn State.
So having been in the marching band, you've walked the walk. You know what these kids are experiencing.
More than they realize.
That's a good thing, right?
Yes, it's wonderful, actually.
The 37-year-old Pompey was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, where his mother introduced him to music at an early age.
So my first instrument was in the 4th grade.
What'd you play?
It was violin, believe it or not. Not for very long.
Corey was at the University of Nevada, Reno, when he got a phone call that Mike Leckrone was retiring.
I will confess, when Mike announced his retirement, I thought to myself, good luck to that next person. Whoever takes that job, bless you. Have a good time. I'm not going anywhere near that.
It would take weeks before Corey finally decided to apply for the job.
What was the determining factor that you said, I'm going to go for this?
Well, the legacy that is the Wisconsin Band.
Pompey has his own vision for the Badger Band, and he's determined to make his own mark.
My goal is for the Wisconsin Marching Band to stay the Wisconsin Marching Band, whatever that means. I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel, and I'm not necessarily looking to take anything away. But if we can add something, if we can enhance something and expand what we're able to do, we'd love to do that.
As you look ahead to the spring concert, this will be your first spring concert. What are your thoughts about that? Are you thinking about starting your own tradition?
Not yet. We're still on the nuts and bolts. We haven't even gotten to issues of creativity yet. The only thing that I can tell you with certainty when it comes to the spring concert is that you won't see me doing somersaults over the audience. That's the only thing that I can guarantee.
And 2019 has been a monumental one for Corey in more ways than one. He is also a newlywed.
Corey and his wife Rochelle got married in May.
Welcome to the new job. All right, let's go to Gary now. He joins us now as we felt quite the change in the forecast over the last day. It really was windy and chilly this morning, rainy.
And it looks like the winds are going to continue strong through the night and into tomorrow. So I did have to add an alert date to the forecast because of the strong winds that could gust to 40 miles per hour or greater at times. Now, some of those winds are occurring with these little showers that kind of move on through at times. They're pretty light and brief when they come through, but they do help to mix the air down closer to the ground. You can see there are more showers out to the west. You can clearly tell where the center of the circulation of the storm is, right about over the Twin Cities as everything rotates around it. But the rain that we had this morning has raced to the north and east and now is in eastern Michigan and moving away from us. But the National Weather Service has expanded the wind advisory through all of southern Wisconsin through 3 p.m. for much of us for areas west of a Platteville to Lone Rock to Wisconsin Dells line. It runs until 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. There are high wind warnings still in effect for parts of southwestern Minnesota and western Iowa, where winds have been gusting to 40 to 50 miles per hour times. These are today's maximum wind gusts. You can see here in Madison, we've gone to 37 miles per hour, but Milwaukee and Green Bay close to 50 miles per hour. And then these stronger winds have just been in the last few hours over western Minnesota and the Dakotas. And as that air or that strong wind starts to come in our direction, rotating around this area of low pressure, our winds will probably increase in speed overnight as well. So again, that's why that wind advisory has been placed into effect already for tonight. These are current wind gusts, mid-20s to around 30 miles per hour in southern Wisconsin, but not far out to our west. Those winds 35 to 45 miles per hour or stronger. Live view from the Edgewater Sky Cam in downtown Madison. Looks like there might be a few drops of rain falling there right now. High temperature today, 64 degrees, the low 48, but right now our current temperature is just above that at 51. Skies are mostly cloudy, winds out of the south-southwest at 16 miles per hour. As we check out the high temperatures today, they were fairly mild for this time of year, 60s over southern Wisconsin, 50s in the northern part of the state, but now the colder air is starting to work its way in. Milwaukee's still at 54, around 50 from Madison westward, and then you start moving out to the west, those temperatures drop into the 40s and upper 30s. And look for high temperatures to stay in the 40s for tomorrow compared to the mid-60s that we had today. Even though the upper level winds are from the southwest, that cold air is wrapped around that storm system, so it's actually coming in from the south and west. That's why we'll look for a colder day for tomorrow. You can see the center of circulation again right about over the Twin Cities. The cold front already pushing out over Lake Michigan, even though the winds at the ground are from the southwest. And that cold air, you can tell the difference in temperatures. Out ahead of the cold front, still 60s, 73 right now in Cleveland, but to the west, a big area of 30s showing up over the Dakotas, back into Minnesota or Montana and Wyoming. And on future track, as that low tracks off to the north and east, you can see those winds starting to clear out the skies by tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday, the next weather system brings us a chance for a couple of showers. Our forecast, again, a wind advisory in effect until 3 p.m. tomorrow for much of southern Wisconsin, west of a Platteville to Lone Rock to Wisconsin Dells line. That advisory runs until 7 p.m. Look for cloudy skies overnight, scattered showers. It'll be windy with low temperatures in the lower 40s. Tomorrow, look for a high of only 48 degrees. Those winds 15 to 30 miles per hour, could gust to 40 miles per hour at times. Future track shows scattered showers overnight and through much of the day tomorrow, but by tomorrow night, those should start to wind down. We'll see some clearing, allowing temperatures to drop into the mid-30s as the winds die off tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday, we'll see some chances of showers late in the day. High temperatures will be in the 50s. Otherwise, we take a look at the 7 to 10 day forecast. Temperatures mid-40s Thursday and Friday, mid-50s for the weekend, and then colder air toward the end of next week. Maybe some rain and snow showers before Halloween on Thursday.
Oh, you said that S word. All right, thank you, Gary.
Sure.
All right, just heading sports. The Badgers have preached nameless, faceless opponents all season, but is that how they'll approach the Ohio State Buckeyes this week? We'll have the story next in sports.
Well, Aaron Rodgers' numbers yesterday were like not human, completing 25 of 31 passes for 429 yards, 5 touchdowns. But in order for those passes to turn into touchdowns, you need guys that can catch them too. And he definitely had that, throwing to 5 different players, 2 of them actually running backs, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. But as for the actual receivers, head coach Matt LaFleur says everyone really starting to settle in nicely.
I think our guys are starting to feel more comfortable, and they're learning the details and of whatever route they're running, and it allows them to focus on how do I beat certain techniques, and I think that's what allows guys to get open.
Now, the Packers' next game is on Sunday night at Kansas City, and today Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said it would be a quote-unquote stretch for quarterback Patrick Mahomes to play against the Packers, but Reid did add that nothing is impossible with this kid. Mahomes recovering from a dislocated kneecap. Meanwhile, if you're still depressed about Saturday and don't want to talk about it, you are not alone. I have several Illini alum friends who I've been avoiding since Saturday. But lucky for the Badgers and their fans, the players are way better at handling this than most of us are. Already moving on to Ohio State, a game that's been circled on many calendars, whether you're a Big Ten person or not. Now, the Badgers are on paper the underdog in this one, but that mindset of having everything against you, well, that's the norm for guys like Chris Orr.
I feel like underdog every game. People didn't start picking us to win until, after a couple weeks ago. So I always feel like underdog. Everybody likes to pat us on the back now, but they weren't doing it in the beginning of the year. So we don't worry about that. We always feel like the underdog.
They're resilient, and we have to turn the page fast. And I think it was very consistent to. After you win a game, guys came back, and it was, obviously there's it was the first time this group this season, lost. And yet I appreciate where they were at and how they approached today.
And I know we're only 4 games into the season, but the Wisconsin men's hockey team is up to 6th in the country in this week's rankings. The Badgers are off to a 3-1 start, jumping up 11 spots after sweeping 2-time defending national champion Minnesota Duluth this past weekend. They'll host 13th ranked Clarkson this weekend. We'll be right back.
Gary's here with a final check.
Windy out there. There are a couple of showers as well. You can see how quickly they're moving along with those strong winds. Wind advisory in effect until 3 p.m. tomorrow for much of southern Wisconsin. Our western viewers until 7 p.m. Right now, temperatures are around 50, but we're seeing those strong winds, 15 to 25 miles per hour, and some gusts up around 30 to 35 miles per hour. Those will increase overnight.
Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10.
Do something good, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.